Okay, so we are recording. Welcome everyone to Military Spouse Advocacy Network's webinar for this month. Actually, one of two for this month, Discover Your Spark. And so thank you so much for joining us. This is a very important topic. And our special guest, Brittany, is just incredible. I think you guys will have a wonderful time tonight. And please feel free to ask all the questions, take all the notes, and really enjoy yourselves as we work through the webinar this evening. And those of you who are watching the replay, always feel free to email us and let us know if you have any questions or things you want to know more about once you've watched this webinar. So thanks for joining us either way. Just as a quick introduction about Military Spouse Advocacy Network, MSAN actually has a president and founder. Her name is Berenice Castillo, and she is an incredible woman. She was 2013 Air Force Spouse of the Year for Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year program. She founded Military Spouse Advocacy Network, and the whole thing with Military Spouse Advocacy Network is we function on this idea of empowerment, support, education for all military spouses. And then with us, our new Military Spouse Support Program, our main focus is on those new spouses and how we support them, encourage them, provide them the resources that are needed, and provide them a mentor from day one all the way up through their first permanent change of station or until they feel comfortable accessing and finding those resources on their own. So MSAN has really become just a huge enterprise now at this point. An incredible nonprofit with so many people and incredible volunteers that play a role into the nonprofit. So we're very grateful to have such a team that we have. It is growing by the minute. We have at this point, we've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people, and then our team is growing into the hundreds as well. So we hope that you get some information out of the webinar and perhaps consider joining us as a nonprofit, whether that's as a mentor or an advocate or something like that to support us in the future. So a little bit about our new Military Spouse Support Program team. I'm Whitney Armstrong. I'm the director for the new Spouse Support Program team. I'm an Air Force spouse and currently living in Ohio at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And so I'll let our other two teammates for the new spouse team kind of tell you a little bit about themselves as well.
So, hi everyone, thank you for joining us, whether you're live with us or you're watching the recording. I'm Sarah Otto. I am the manager for the new Spouse Support Program. I am a Navy spouse. My husband has been in for 21 years and he retires in October and comes home next week after being gone for almost 3 years, and we live in Northern Virginia.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalie Ely. I am the coordinator for the Military Spouse Support Program, and my husband's in the Marine Corps, so we are currently stationed in Pendleton, California, which is in Southern California.
All right, so just a brief little bit about the new spouse support program and kind of what we do. Obviously, this webinar is not just geared for new spouses, but for everyone, for all spouses. And Brittany will tell you a little bit about that and how that's something she found on her travels as a military spouse, and something that she heard a lot from military spouses is that seeking identity and lack of identity. But as a new spouse support program team, our main goal is to focus on those new spouses. And we want to bring to you webinars and resources and people who can provide you just insights into what it means to be a military spouse, what it means to be a person, or, you're not just a spouse. Again, Brittany will touch on a lot of these things. And I think it's really important to feel that sense of empowerment, to know that you have the ability to find these resources, to know where to go, to have a mentor to help you, whether that's someone that we assign you as a part of the new spouse support program team, or whether that's just a personal mentor that you found at your duty installation. So I think it's so important to have someone along your side or some people to look to as a mentor in life in general, not just as a military spouse. And so something that I want to emphasize is how to kind of become a part of the new spouse support program. So that's NMSSP, because of course we love acronyms in the military world. And something I want to highlight is if you are a new military spouse or you know a new military spouse, please point them in our direction, because we would like to get them assigned to a mentor and get them the resources and help that perhaps they might be seeking. And so the first step would be to visit militaryspouseadvocacynetwork.org. Take a look at that site. It's really incredible. So many resources and blogs and webinars on there that you might already find the answers to your questions before even needing a mentor. And so I suggest that you first visit that site. Step 2 would be to click on our programs and select the new Military Spouse Support Program. Once you've done that, then you'll scroll down and see a button that says New Military Spouse Survey. So select that, you'll fill in the survey and submit it to be linked with a mentor. So we get that survey as soon as you're done and you hit submit. We review that information and we do the best job to personally assign you. There's no algorithms involved. We are real people behind the scenes who get these surveys to link you up with one of our mentors. We have a lot of mentors from all branches of the military at this point who are trained and ready to mentor new spouses. And so we link you up, and just make sure, if you've done that, to check your email, because that's our main form of communication in the New Spouse Support Program. Check your spam folder in case it came from an email address that your email wasn't familiar with. Check into all those things. If you haven't heard, obviously reach out to us and say, hey, I filled out that survey. I haven't heard it. It's been a couple of days. What do I do? Because it, like I said, it could have gone to some weird folder or accidentally deleted or something like that. So if you have filled that out, or you're going to fill that out, make sure that you keep in touch with your email, because that'll be your main communication with your mentor. So if you are not a new spouse and you are what, for lack of a better term, we like to call seasoned spouse, if you're a seasoned spouse and you would like to become a mentor, I'd like for you to email sotto@milspouseadvocacynetwork.org. That is Sarah's email. I didn't know I was putting her email on here. Notice how I didn't put no, I'm just kidding.
All good. All good.
And so what you'll do is you'll email Sarah, and she'll get you in touch with everything that we need from you if you're interested in becoming a mentor. We do currently have, and this is August 2018, because again, people could be watching this in the future on recording, but we do currently have a wait list for certain branches, which is incredible as a nonprofit to have a wait list of volunteers wanting to help our fellow military spouses. And I think that speaks volumes about the kind of people that we have here to support one another, and how everyone wants to support one another, because we all wish that we had that support when we were new spouses, and we wish we had that mentor assigned to us. So that's kind of a little bit about the program and how to enroll and how to become a mentor and how to become a new spouse. But now, for the reason you're actually here, right, is for our special guest. So Brittany is incredible. Let me just say, I met Brittany for the first time actually at the Military Spouse of the Year Town Hall event last year, which is where she was actually named Military Spouse of the Year for 2017. And she blew me away. I think it was the first night. It was like a meet and greet thing. And I was just standing there with my jaw probably hanging on the floor, trying to clean up my drool after myself, because I was just amazed. I felt like I had gotten off an elevator on the penthouse floor and I did not belong there. Like I accidentally put in the wrong number and somehow caught up with all these incredible people. And it was just amazing to hear her speak and to, just feel her presence and what lit her soul on fire. And that was really important. Because it caught everyone else on fire, right? We all could see that spark in her and wanted to know, like, what is her secret? What is it that makes her so happy, that wants to share that passion and that joy? And so I'm so excited that she has become our special guest tonight to share a little bit more information with you about what she's been working on. So a little bit more about her, actually, is that she is a business professional. She's a public speaker. She's an Air Force spouse, a military family advocate, and she's a mother of two. So she's the author and founder of a military spouse workbook and workshop called Discovering Your Spark, Finding Your Color in a Camouflage World. Her youngest child was born with Down syndrome in 2015, so that prompted her to become an advocate for military families with children who have special needs, and subsequently led her to her founding the Down Syndrome Advancement Coalition. So the coalition is a partnership of organizations pursuing the laws, regulations, and policies aimed at improving access to healthcare, education, and jobs for people with developmental disabilities. In 2017, like I mentioned, she was named the 2017 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. That represents military spouses of all branches of service. She was also obviously the Air Force Spouse of the Year first, and then became Military Spouse of the Year. So she listened to fellow spouses. She got to tour around and meet with a lot of people. She listened to fellow military spouses, and she realized that spouses were struggling with identity and were in need of support and resources. So she did something about it. And as she now advocates for military families with a purpose of empowering, encouraging, and inspiring military spouses to find their identities and live their life with passion. Brittany is a dynamic speaker and motivational extraordinaire with an extensive background in program management. She has a bachelor's in community health and a master's in nonprofit management, and resides in the natural state of Arkansas with her husband and children. Holy moly. Like I said, right, jaw on the floor. And I wonder how she does it all. I'm so excited. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us. I will turn it over to you. All of you who are on here tonight live, please feel free to interact, ask questions. There's a chat feature. You can do that as well. Make sure to unmute yourself before you start talking so that we can make sure to hear what you have to say. But also stick around because we do have two $25 gift cards to give away at the end of the webinar live. For those of you who are attending, we'll do a random drawing for 2 people. And that's actually sponsored by Armed Forces Insurance. So without further ado, I would like to pass it over to Brittany as our leader tonight, as our special guest. Brittany, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here tonight and talk with you guys and talk to the spouses that are on or the ones that will be watching this video. I have a special place in my heart for MSAN. I just love everything that all of you are doing, all of you volunteering in these roles. It is so important. The New Spouse Program is something that has really kind of lit a new fire in me because I realized the need for our new military spouses. So you guys are really just hitting it out of the park, found a niche that needed to be taken care of, and I really appreciate all of the hard work, all of the volunteer hours, and everything that you're doing. And Whitney, I remember what you were wearing when I saw you at that meet and greet, and I'm pretty sure I even came up to you and was like, I love what you're wearing. So it's been wonderful to know you, and I look forward to everything in the future with you. Thank you for the introduction. I'm not used to hearing the introduction like spoken by somebody else, so that is wonderful and neat to hear. Like you said, I was able to travel the nation from May 2017 to May 2018, and I was afforded that opportunity by Armed Forces Insurance, being their Military Spouse of the Year. It was such a humble and rewarding experience to travel the nation. But while doing so, I not only took the opportunity to speak with military spouses, I took it as an opportunity to listen to military spouses. And what I learned through my journaling and self-reflection was that I heard a lot of complaints from military spouses from anything from education, jobs, childcare availability, to deployment tempo, work-life balance, you name it. I kind of heard a lot of the challenges and struggles that military spouses were going through. And I thought to myself, this is just the surface. Like, what is the root cause to these concerns and complaints that were coming across the board from all branches? And so I really tried to do my due diligence and homework. And I started going back and reflecting on the notes I was taking after each visit. And what I came to the conclusion of is that military spouses, the longer they were a military spouse, they were losing sight of who they were, their identity. They were losing sight of what they wanted to do, or they felt that they couldn't accomplish what they wanted to do because of their geographic location that they were living in, or because of the deployment tempo or the job pace, and because of the lack of support they had. More often than not, we live far away from our family support units, and we have to rely on, that brand new neighbor to be your point of contact for your child at school. And we feel like we don't have anybody that we can rely on. And so that's a reason for us not to pursue what we want to do, because we feel we don't have the option. And so I really took that information, and I remember sitting at home just thinking, this was me for a really long time. I mean, I have been a military spouse for 13 years, and I remember in the beginning digging my heels in pretty hard and saying, nope, I'm not going there. I'm not doing this. I don't want to be in the middle of anywhere, Columbus, Mississippi. And I remember making it pretty difficult on my spouse at the time. And I just felt like I left everything to join my spouse in the military. So I left a good job. I left my family. I left my comfort. And so I think, like a lot of military spouses, we get into that flow of support and following our service member, and we just over time lose who we are. And the crazy thing about that is that we are some of the most amazing people, military spouses in general. it takes a certain type of person to be a military spouse. So we all bring something really unique to the table. But through all of that was born the idea of Discovering Your Spark. So it was thinking of military spouses and saying, how can, we as a community help military spouses find who they are and live their life with passion. And so Discovering Your Spark came about, and all the content of what I wanted in a workbook came about. And for anyone that knows me, I am like a planner person. Like I write everything down. I still use a paper planner. I cannot cross over to like an iPhone planner. It's just not going to happen in my lifetime. So I like that. And I like reminders. Like I like a planner that has reminders, like inspirational quotes or motivation or, something to get me going every day, just a reminder. And so I approached a really great friend of mine whose name is Molly, and she is one of the most incredible artists that I've ever met. She can not only put a design on paper, create a digital design from scratch, but she is just like creative to her soul, her writing, she can take my words and make them sound beautiful. And I approached her and said, I have this idea. I have this concept. I can't do it alone. I really need to collaborate with somebody, and I want you to do the design. Because if I were to design the book, it would probably have all been like bullet point type stuff. And I know some people are more creative than that. And so I needed it to be a little of both. I needed it to appeal to somebody who's a to-do list check-off person, and I needed it to appeal for the person that likes to doodle on their page. And so she took my idea and she made it into a beautiful product. And for those of you who have never seen the book, this is what it looks like. And it's called Discovering Your Color in a Camouflaged World, because we live in this camouflaged military world as a military spouse. And I think over time we lose our color, who we are. And so we need to find that again in this world. So the book came to life, and Armed Forces Insurance was absolutely amazing to get behind the book and sponsor it so that all of our fellow MSOIs this year could have a copy, and many people outside of that could have a copy. So that is really how the book came to life. A little bit, about me, like history about me. I said I put my feet down. I did. I really dug my feet in as a military spouse. And I wish in the beginning, that same like famous quote, I wish I knew then what I know now. We are at the end of our military career. We're in retirement year right now. And I know that's kind of hard to say because I look in the mirror and I don't think we're old enough to retire, but obviously we are. And we are coming to the end where we won't be moving every 2 to 3 years. And we are going to be in a home that's permanent, or dream home, or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to settle. And that is very scary to think of right now. It was something I couldn't have even fathomed 13 years ago. But today it's something that I am scared to lose and leave because it is so much of who we are as a family, who I am as the military spouse, and as a person. And so in thinking about that, I just wish I knew then what I know now, so that I could have really appreciated the life that we all get to live as military spouses. For new spouses, I just want to talk to you guys for just a minute. When you become a military spouse and you are moving to your first assignment with your service member, it is okay to take chances. It is okay to say, see you later to your past, to your family, to your comfort, and accept and try new things. Being open to change is one of the best gifts that you have. And you have to remember that every assignment is only temporary. So military spouses, probably everyone that's on the call tonight, all of the MCN volunteers will probably agree that by the time you get to a point to where you're like, oh, I'm finally like comfortable here and I've made friends and I know where things are, orders drop and you're getting ready to go to the next spot. So just, if I can tell you anything, jump with both feet in and just take the chance, meet the person, make a friend, take a job. If that's what you want to do, take a job, let it be your right now job, not your forever job, and use it as a stepping stone to where you want to be. I think one of the good things for all of us to remember, new military spouses and what I like to call well-marinated military spouses. So that's a new word for everybody, not seasoned, well-marinated. We're well-marinated spouses. Is to remember that every person that you are going to meet on this journey, so whether you're 15 years in or you are fresh walking with your service member out of boot camp, everyone you meet is fighting their own battle, their own challenge, and their own struggle. So the one thing that you have in your, armor to do is to be kind to the people that you meet on this journey, because that's what it is. So these are just some little tips I want to give to the new military spouses. Now, switching gears back to the book. So when I was trying to decide on what to put into this workbook, I spent days and months journaling and doing my own self-inventory. So in order to produce the book for everybody else, I had to really put myself through it and do the reflection and go to those places that were hard to go to. For spouses who have been a military spouse for a while, it's going to those places knowing that, yes, I dug my feet in. Yes, I made it miserable. Yes, I have to look at myself in the mirror and say, I was the only person stopping me from doing X, Y, and Z. So doing that self-inventory, it can be hard. For new military spouses, doing the self-inventory is more of figuring out who you are today and holding on to that. Not saying you can't be flexible in who you are, but holding on to who you are at your core, your purpose, your passion, and understanding that the vision in your head of who you are and what you want to do, that vision may look different as you proceed as a military spouse, but the content of it, what's at the heart of it, doesn't have to change. An example I want to give to you is a military spouse that I met who went through the workbook. And when I met her, I asked her what she wanted to be. What did she always want to be? And she said she wanted to be a nurse. And we worked through it together. And I asked her questions on why she wanted to be a nurse and why she was so passionate about being a nurse. And so on a piece of paper, we wrote out all of the things that made her want to be a nurse, like how she wanted to care for a person, how she wanted to take care of a person, just all of the different attributes to it. And then I asked her, I said, okay, well, what do you do today? And she said, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And so one, if you know me, I do not like the word just. I want you to remove it from your vocabulary because you're not just anything. So I tell her, okay, one, you're a stay-at-home mom, be proud of it. And then I said, let's write down everything about being a stay-at-home mom. Let's write those attributes down. So we started on another piece of paper what she does and how she feels and what she's really getting from being a stay-at-home mom. And so she started saying, I take care of my kids, I care for her. And probably within like 1 minute, she stopped and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing everything that I have always wanted to do as being a nurse, but it just looks completely different than what I thought. And so the point of me telling you that is new military spouses, figure out who you are, what you're deeply passionate about, what you want to do, and be flexible enough in knowing that you can do that and it look different than the vision you have in your mind. So for our well-marinated spouses, it's important to, I'm sorry, so this is real life. My husband's in the other room messaging me on, do the kids need baths? So like, really, I'm sorry, but I do have to message him. flexibility at the best. Okay, so for our well-marinated spouses, the same thing. Going back to the self-inventory, it's probably going to be a little harder on you because really having to go back and figure out, you know, who you were, who you always wanted to be, what you thought, and then figuring out who you are today. And so if you have the workbook on page 8, there is a little section on here that says, how do you see yourself today? And there's a box that lets you do. So if you're somebody who just writes, you can write. If you're somebody who's artistic and colorful, you have room to be creative. Stickers and all, you can do whatever you want there. But really, the purpose of this section is for you not to like think too much about it, but just to write, like what initially comes to mind of, you know, how do you see yourself today? And then as you work through the book, there's areas in the book that help you go back to the beginning. So this is a self-inventory. This book is doing the self-inventory for you. That goes back to say, you know, how did you see yourself? What did you want to be when you graduated high school? What did people around you always think you were going to be? So a funny thing for me is I always wanted to work, you know, I wanted to help people. I always knew I wanted to help people. I thought I was going to be a counselor. And over the years, as I struggled with employment and moving in the military life, I wasn't doing, you know, anything like that, or so I thought, until I went back and did this self-inventory. So when I go back and I talk about digging my heels in, being in Columbus, Mississippi, I was miserable. I made life miserable for my husband. I go back now and I realized I took a job, underpaid, well underpaid job. But now that I look back on it, I was the director of a preschool. I hired 5 military spouses and gave them an opportunity to work. I built relationships that I have now, I still have today, with those same military spouses. And so I look back on it now, and I was helping military spouses 10 years ago, and I couldn't see it. But now I do. So that's just something I wanted to talk to you about. If you have the workbook, if you don't have the workbook, there's going to be opportunities for you to be able to purchase them from our website. And all new military spouses, here's something exciting. I won't give too much away, but all new military spouses, if you are a part of the MSANS program, mentor program, you are going to have all access to the PDF version of this workbook, and you are going to have all kinds of tips and extra help. So definitely something you want to be a part of. You can work with your mentor on. It's going to be fantastic, guys. Okay, so that's just kind of the beginning of this, where we began as spouses, taking that self-inventory, figuring out who we are. And for new spouses, that starts today. If you have somebody who's in basic training, it starts today to figure out who you are, but being flexible in how that may look. Okay, so I want to move on just a little bit, and I'm going to take or have the opportunity for you guys to chime in here. So I want everybody to think of one word that you would use to describe a military spouse. One word.
Resilient.
Okay, so let me write. It's going to take me a minute because I have to be able to write fast. Okay, so resilient. What else do we have?
Resourceful.
Resourceful. Okay.
Flexible.
What was it?
Flexible.
Flexible.
My word is more.
More. Ooh, I love it. I love that.
Dedicated.
Dedicated.
Creative. You had to know that was coming from me.
Creative. Everybody who's on here, our creator, designer, artist is online who designed this workbook.
Multitasker.
Multitasker.
So we have some coming through on the chat.
Okay.
Supportive,
Supportive.
able,
Able.
And Stacy also said creative, just like Molly.
Creative. My
I
creative.
got your list going too here, girl.
And
Yes.
strong.
And strong. Okay, so when I do this in person in live workshops, I get everybody to write this on a piece of paper, and there's all different papers. So there's different colors and different shapes. And I let everybody pick what speaks to them, and then they write this word. And we put it on a big board, and then I take off a cover over the words, and it says, "What is a military spouse?" And it paints a beautiful picture of what a military spouse is. And I think a lot of times when we're asked, what's a military spouse, we kind of are like, we kind of don't want to say these things. We don't want to put it out there because we hear some negative things sometimes. We hear sometimes about us being dependent upon our service member. We hear these things, and a lot of us use the word just, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we're doing. But all of these words together paint the most beautiful picture of a military spouse and what we are capable of doing. What on here, able, we are able to do so much more, so the other favorite word, so much more than we give ourselves credit to being able to do. I mean, come on, we can run an entire house, change tires, deal with Murphy's Law, all of it as soon as our spouse leaves, like within 24 hours of a deployment, right? It just happens to us. And new military spouses, you're going to learn that really quick, okay? It's going to happen. We're going to be here for you, though. You're going to have mentors now to be here for you, to work you through those and to help you through that. So that's something that I like to do in the beginning of the workbook when I'm doing this workshop as a way to open everybody up and open their eyes and to see such this beautiful picture of who we are as military spouses and how different we are, but all together we paint this beautiful picture. And so that's just something I wanted to do with you guys. So a couple of other things. I'm not going to go through the whole book with you because I want you to have an opportunity to see this workshop. But there's a couple of things that I want to open the conversation tonight to get everybody thinking. So if I can get some feedback from you guys, how do you define yourself? Okay, that's one of the things about this book, and I will warn everybody, the purpose of this book is to go to those places. Go to those deep places, go to those places you don't want to, go to the place where you've kind of hidden the thoughts in the back of your head. And, how do you define you? Because when you say that out loud and you say those words, that's the first step to you owning who you are and like going after it and living that life, living with purpose. So who's going to go first? Silence. It's crickets.
I'll take the heat for this one. I'll go first for this one. So since I feel like we're, hosting, I guess I should. So I'll tell you a little bit about how in the past, I always defined myself by the people around me. I used my spouse as the definition of me being, I'm a spouse, I'm a wife. I used my children as, I'm a mom. I used all the things and the people around me to define who I was instead of reflecting internally to be like, no, but who are you? Okay, like you can't just bounce it off of these other people. And so I'm still in the process of working through that. I'm still in the process of gaining everything I can from tonight and from self-reflection and journaling and things like that. And so I still don't have just a one point blank answer for you because it's such a complex answer. And so many aspects of who I am work together,
Yes.
to make that up. And so, but for a while it was always about my job or my relationships with others. And that's how I define myself. But I think it's really important to not do that and to look within.
It is. And this is the reason, because so many military spouses that I come and talk to, that's it. We do. We're like, oh, well, I'm a mom and I work outside the home or I work from home and my husband does this. And so we let all of that, while it does help identify who we are, what seems to happen is the piece at the core of who we truly are gets lost in all of those other things that we identify with. And so out of all of that, it's like, well, is Whitney passionate? Is she energetic? Is she, loving? Is she creative? None of that comes through because we're so just confined to oh, but I'm a mom and I'm a spouse and I'm doing this or that, And so I think going through this workbook and being able to identify just a few things. I mean, it doesn't have to be this crazy, mind-blowing, 60-second elevator speech of who you are. I mean, for me, I've come to the point, I am an extremely passionate, dedicated, and motivated person with a servant's heart to help others. And it took a while for me to come up with just 10 words, but that's me at my core. That's it. And outside of that, it helps me be a better mom and it helps me be a better spouse. And those are things that I identify with. So thank you for sharing and being the first, because
yeah, absolutely,
those are hard conversations to have.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else want to share?
I see 2 people who commented too. Jessica says independent leader. I love that. And Lynn said passionate, caring leader. I love that both of them use the word leader because it's so true from what I know about both of them. But in general, that they can identify themselves as a leader. It's so hard to talk positive things about ourselves sometimes, to say, this is who I am. And it's a good word. It's a positive word because we're so surrounded with all this negativity. But who else? If anyone wants to unmute themselves too and talk about what they feel.
I will go, I guess. I feel like I too am a leader, but I often, when I spoke, a lot of times I often got put in that box of you're just a military spouse. I've been told that 5 billion times by people in the unit, soldiers, peers, and it often deflated what I really wanted to do in this community, because I didn't feel like it was welcome, because you do so much, you advocate for so much, and then they say, oh, you're doing too much, go sit down, we don't want that much, we like you to help, but we don't want you to do too much. And when you start, like with Brittany, when you start advocating for special needs and all this stuff, you start ruffling feathers, and people don't like that. And so a lot of times I would retreat, and I would go back next duty station. This is our 3rd year here, so usually by the 3rd year I'm like, okay, you guys are tired of me now, got it. So then I'll retreat for the last year, and then next duty station we'll try it again, and it's really hard to do that over and over.
It is very hard, but for you to be so committed and to continue to do it, we have so many military spouses who are struggling with so many things, and we need those advocates that will stand up and fight for and represent our military families. And I have been in that situation. I have been where somebody says, oh, well, you have so much on your plate. And I tell them respectfully, I know when I have enough on my plate and when I need to regret from doing something. But until then, I'm fully capable and content with what I'm doing. And I have to be assertive in that. And I find in our community, I don't want to always have to address what I'm doing or why or the background of it. And for you, that's what you're experiencing. And so for you to just keep on with it and know that this is where I'm supposed to be and this is my place. And part of that is making that really simple statement, finding out it's who I am and being able to respond to them with, this is what I do. It is my hobby. It is my passion. It is my place. I am not going anywhere. So let's just work together. Let's get something done. But I'm very proud of you. Thank you for sharing. Do we have anybody else who wants to talk?
All right, I'm going to go, but I'm going to call someone out here on the comments. A couple comments up. Casey made the comment when you asked us to describe ourselves with the word tired. And I think so many times saying you're tired, or especially in a deployment that we need help or that we're overwhelmed, is looked upon as a weakness instead of a strength. And it's what you're saying of knowing your limits and knowing when you need to say, okay, I got to take the time out, or okay, my husband's deployed and I'm down with the stomach virus and so are 3 of my kids, I need help, is a strength, not a sign of weakness. And I think if more of us would be bold and stand up with that strength, then it will erase some of the stereotypes for those of us who really want to be out there all the time, doing as much as we do, to be able to do that. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, that's true. I didn't see the comments, so I'm glad you guys are bringing that up so that I can see them. I just opened them. I don't know why I didn't know they existed at the bottom. So, but now that I have them, but it is true. There is strength in saying, I'm tapped out right now and I need a break, or I need a little help, or accepting for somebody. Because, we all have, when we're like going through something and you have that friend who says, oh yeah, just call me. I'll be there to take care of you. But it's like one of those, they really don't want to take the call from you, but they're like offering to be nice kind of thing. But sometimes we just need to say, hey, I need somebody to bring dinner to my house. Like, I'm tapped out and I need a break, because we're there for everybody else so much. And so we just need to know that it's a strength in saying it's time for me to have a little help. I don't get spiritual too often, but one thing that I've learned over my lifetime is that there's times in our life that we need to be carried, and there are times that we need to carry others. And as military spouses, those are 2 important roles that we play often, is when we are carrying others and when we have to stop and say, it's my turn to be carried, and to ask for it and accept it. So thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, I was trying to read some of these notes. You guys are writing some really great stuff. And yes, asking for help is not a weakness. So this is awesome. Okay, so we're going to move into another section of the workbook. And this is another one of those like kind of hard-hitting things. And if you have a workbook, it is on page 25. And there's a little box at the bottom. And it says, what keeps me up at night? And this is one of those ones that I wrote over and over and over, like, what keeps me up at night? And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It has been different things over my life, but in the end, it's one word: fear. Fear is what keeps me up at night. Fear of not being the best military spouse that I can be. Fear of not being the best wife I can be. Fear of not being the best mother I can be. Fear of just not being the best person I can be. And fear of just everything that I don't have in my control. I've allowed that in my life. I've allowed the fear of our geographic location to dictate what I'm going to do or how I'm going to be. And I've allowed the fear of the unknown of my husband's work schedule and deployment tempo and work tempo to paralyze me from doing stuff that I've wanted to do over the years. And 3 years ago, for me, I was in a hospital room and I had a doctor come in who said, your son has Down syndrome. And fear paralyzed me. Fear of, how are we going to live this military life? How am I going to single parent while, having this child with special needs? What is he going to need? Are we going to have resources? Are we going to have services? How am I going to do this without family? And guys, life, the world, everything in the room, in that moment, I could see everything moving. I could hear absolutely nothing that was going on. And I will not lie, it took me about 3 or 4 months, but I had a military spouse tell me, you have everything you need, and if you don't, you will find it. And she knew that I would. And at about the 6-month mark, I asked my Air Force, what can you do for me and what can you do for my family? I asked for help. I asked for that hand. And it was really hard to do that. But once I did, I became extremely involved as an advocate. I stopped allowing, the answer to just be like, I don't know, or no. I mean, I pursued it to a point that even now when the medical clinic sees me walk in, they're like, "Hi, Mrs. Bacher," and they go to their office. Like, they don't want to see me. They're like, "What is she going to ask today? What does she want for the military families with special needs?" But I asked for help, learned about the programs, I became proactive, and it was really in that moment of time where I knew exactly what I was supposed to do, where I was supposed to be, what my purpose and passion was. And since that moment, I've been living it every day. So let's see what somebody just posted. One of my favorite quotes is, "Fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise." And I couldn't agree more with that. So would anybody else like to discuss what keeps them up at night? No. Or is fear something that everybody, like, is that something that keeps them up, is fear? And if it is fear, fear of what?
All right, I'll go. But
Okay.
mine is fear, like you said, fear. Good one, lack of time to complete every time. But fear of doing something that will wind up reflecting poorly on my husband and his career. And
I think we all are shaking our heads like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's part of back to why I struggled with my identity. As Brittany called me out earlier, I am a creative. I see the world very differently. I tend to, I was the leadership wife walking around the base with the pink stripes in my hair, and it wasn't always well received, but I couldn't deny who I was. And so it is a challenging place to kind of walk that line of being you, but not getting in the way of your husband or your spouse, and what they're doing, and getting in the way of them being them, because truly their passion, their purpose is what drove them to be in the military. And so as much as you don't want to lose yours, you don't want to be the one that gets in the way of theirs either. So
yeah, and there is that finding that balance, that fine balance between how we can support our service member but still stay true to who we are. And I'm not going to say at all that it's, easy. It's not easy at all. But I think there are ways for us to figure out who we are, understand it's going to look different, than what we thought, and still be able to be content with doing something that we're passionate about. And one of the things I want to share, since Molly's on the screen right now, so Molly and I are probably what military spouses and new military spouses, this is really for you. We are what you would probably say we shouldn't have the relationship that we have. Molly's a command spouse. I'm an enlisted spouse, and we make it work. She was extremely approachable when I first met her, in yoga pants and a t-shirt and her hair tied up. And I would have never known that she was a command spouse. And that says something about who she is. She's approachable. She wants to be there for fellow military spouses. It doesn't matter what your husband's rank is, because we are military spouses. We don't have a rank. We didn't take an oath. We just committed to stand by our service member and serve alongside of them in a volunteer capacity. And so military spouses, for all of our new ones, when you get to your first installation, they are probably going to have a consolidated club now. So very few bases have an enlisted club and an officers club. Now they consolidate together. And I really believe the purpose in this is to help break down that barrier that we don't wear our spouses' stripes or whatever your military branch has. Okay, so we don't. But just like in the civilian world, I wouldn't go to my husband's boss, his spouse, and be like, "Hey, what's up?" Casually. at a function, I would go and say, "Hi, Mrs. Bennett, how are you?" And outside of that, if we go to yoga together, I'd be like, "Hey, Molly, how are you? We're going to yoga." I mean, so it's the same concept with the military life. If you were in a civilian world, you know, an executive and your spouse worked for somebody, it's just being respectful and understanding your lane. And so for me, I know when I have Molly, my creative friend, and I know that when we're at the club at an event, it's Mrs. Bennett, and it's nice to see you. And so I think for military spouses, there's kind of that unstated or stereotype that we can't be friends if you're an enlisted with an officer spouse, or if you're a higher, officer spouse and, brand new officer spouse. And we need to get past that. The relationship's going to look different. So I know that we can't go barbecue together or out to dinner together because of the rank structure, but I can have a relationship with Molly. And so it looks different than what another relationship may be, but it works. And so for new military spouses, remember that. And remember that they're like everybody else. They put their pants on one leg at a time. If they try to do two, they're falling on their face. Okay, let's be real. And approach them. Build that relationship. Not saying friendship. You don't have to make friends with them, but build the relationship. What's the hurt? So that's something, my 2 cents for that. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to do one more thing, and then we're going to do question and answer so that everybody can get back to their families. But let's talk about, so in the workbook, because we didn't actually talk about what everybody wants to ultimately be, or their passion, because you have to work through the book. But what are some things that have been stopping you up to now from doing things that you've wanted to do? Whether that's in work, whether it's in general, just life. What are things that have been stopping you?
My husband's schedule.
Your husband's schedule. And that's absolutely like real life. It is not going to change for any of us. Time. Okay. Move 3 times in the year. Yes. Family obligations. Okay. So we know that there's things, money, not having childcare, all those things. So we know that there are all of these barriers. So what can we do to try to overcome some of those barriers to accomplish what we want? Anybody? So I'm going to tell you something, for me, outside of the box. Think outside of the box, make time for us. That is so true. So I want to tell you guys one thing where things changed for me. I started getting up. So 3 years ago, after Blake was born and I was at the lowest point in my life, I started getting up and I started writing to myself every day one word of affirmation, one thing. It started with me. I didn't need anybody else. I needed me to say, you're valuable. You're worth it. You're beautiful, even though you have spit up all in your hair and down your shirt. Like, I had to tell myself. And literally after, months of telling myself positive things, I started thinking a lot more positive every day. Instead of being like, all right, well, I can't go to the grocery store today. I can't go visit my girlfriend. I just want to take a shower, but I can't. Guess what? The baby in the pack and play for 10 minutes in the bedroom while I'm in the shower was okay. He's fine. He's 3 now and all over the place. He's fine, right? So giving ourselves some grace. It's time to give ourselves some grace. It is okay to say, I need 30 minutes for me. I need to do something for myself. So something as simple as words of affirmation, starting there and reminding yourself, because it's not going to change. It's not a light bulb that's going to change overnight. But knowing and telling yourself, you know what? I'm passionate about doing this. It doesn't mean you have to do it every day. Maybe it looks different. Maybe you're a person who's like me, a servant heart. You want to help somebody, and maybe you once a month give 1 hour of your time to volunteer somewhere because it fulfills that passion and burn in your heart. It makes you happy. That's it. But maybe everything else that you're doing isn't exactly what you want to be doing. And that's okay, because you can say, I'm doing this right now to get to my X, Y, and Z. I'm doing this to get to my forever job, or I'm doing this to get to the time where I get 2 hours by myself, whatever it may be. Okay, let's see, Casey. I started sharing a motivational quote on social media, not only to encourage others, but because it becomes a reminder for me. Exactly. It starts with us. It starts with us. And then Molly said that goes back to the stubbornness that is so common in military spouses. We don't have to do it all. It's okay to ask for help, to not do it all. That's another thing. Over the past year, Molly knows, I have taken a lot of stuff off my schedule because I was doing all of these things. I was doing, but all of those things were not fulfilling the passion and purpose. They were taking up all the time, but I was still missing, what was fulfilling me. And so I had to say, guess what, Spouses Club, not where I need to be right now. I work from home. I don't work in an executive office, which is where I've always wanted to be, but it works and I'm doing that. So having that grace, what is this new one? We have enough pressure from the rest of the world. We have to remember being perfectly imperfect is 100% okay. Yes, we're looking for progress, not perfection. It is fine to be perfectly imperfect, and saying no, Jessica, is absolutely okay. So these are things that I want you guys to think about. If you don't have the workbook, like I said, you're going to be able to get it here very soon. For all of our new military spouses, you will have access to it through your mentorship program. So you won't even have to worry about purchasing it. You'll have like the PDF version because of the partnership that Discovering Your Spark has made with MSAN. We're so excited about this, and you'll learn more about it here in the future, near future. But the workbook was really made for you to be able to do on your own. It's made for spouses groups. So if a spouses group wants to get together to do it, an FRG or a key spouse program, even like a chaplains group, it was really meant so that you could do it in a group setting. And in a group setting, what you get is the support from other spouses. You get to hear another spouse say, I'm going through the same thing, or I felt the same thing, or I'm fear that too. And so there's something about being in a room with other military spouses who are living the same life that you are to an extent, and hearing them say and validate kind of the feelings that you have. There's just something about that validation piece. And then it's a reminder for you to be able to take it home, get into it a little more, give yourself 5 minutes every night or every morning to go through and do something in the book. And when you start to get in that rut in your life, pull the book back out and say, this is where I wanted to be as a reminder. This is where I am today. Let me go back through this and remind myself. And we continue to do this. It'll help us in this process of military spouses not digging our feet in, not getting in that rut or staying in that rut. We're going to get in it, but not staying in it, because at the end of the day, it's us. We're the ones stopping ourselves. We're the one that has to look at ourselves in the mirror. So I am happy to know each of you, the ones I've never met in person. I hope I have the opportunity to meet you. It is not a show, guys. I am so passionate about military spouses. I want to see you succeed and be the best that you can be. I want to see you happy and, thriving in this community and giving back. So thank you for listening to me tonight. I want to open it up for questions before we log off. So does anyone have any questions? And Stacy, I love you too. Stacy's absolutely amazing. She's one of our current MSOIs. And let's see, you can type a question, or if you want to unmute and ask a question, you can do that as well.
I'm going to ask a question based on a couple comments that I saw earlier about how people feel really overwhelmed and feel like there's just so much to go through. In fact, Jessie said something about how sometimes she feels like she's drowning, because not only is it trying to figure out how to live on your own for the first time as a new spouse, but it's also like you're now all of a sudden learning an entirely new language with all these acronyms, and you're learning an entirely new way of life, essentially becoming a military spouse. And so what sort of like recommendations would you say to work through those feelings of feeling anxious and overwhelmed and just exhausted by all these new things coming at you?
So one thing, and this is for any military spouse, new or if you're moving to a new base, we have an abundant amount of programs established for military families, okay, whether they're DoD-wide, branch specific, or nonprofits that are providing the care. So one thing is military spouses tend to not go to their newcomer briefing on their base. And that is the first place to go. I mean, even if you've been a military spouse for 15 years, go to that new briefing. Like, I mean, you go there and you find where everything is, all the resources, because each base will have some different resources for you that kind of go along to that environment that you're going to be living in. But take that hour or 2 hours and go. I know it's like stepping out of your comfort zone, or you're like, man, I've been a military spouse, I don't need to go and sit through this. Or maybe you're just not like a people person that, wants to get out there. But seriously, that is like step one, go there. And then step two is Google is your best friend. I mean, if you put in Google about resources you're looking for, there are so many nonprofits. I mean, MSAN, you guys are rocking it. There's you've got Blue Star Families, you've got military spouse, advisory network that's working on things. I mean, we have so many nonprofits that are in the wings that are doing surveys and research and have programs. It's just that we have to actually ask for it and use it. We have to search for it. I wish there was like a one place to go. Like, I wish you could type in militaryresource.com and it pulled up every single thing by like category. That would be phenomenal, but it doesn't exist, at least to my knowledge. So really try to do that. HeartLink, yes. Somebody just said HeartLink for Air Force. Absolutely. Do that.
Also, my mistake. Jessie is a male spouse, actually, and I had misquoted and said she when I was asking that question. So I apologize, Jessie.
Male military spouses, like 20% of our spouse population are male military spouses. We need more of them. They're struggling with the same thing, if not more than what we are, because they are obviously battling the stereotype of a male military spouse as well.
So yeah. I'm going to chime in here now, Brittany, as the command spouse. And usually it's all in the way you approach, but usually your command spouses want to hear this. They want to know where they're struggling. They want to know where the weaknesses are. We don't want someone to just come to us and dump. We're not here to be your counselor. We're not here to, tell you how to work through your marital issues, or, we're not here to be your babysitter. But we do want to know where the shortcomings at the base are. We do want to know where you feel like there is a break in communication, and those kind of things. Some leadership absolutely love Facebook. Some leadership absolutely hate Facebook. But if the majority want information to be on social media, typically your protocol office and those kind of places will push to get it out. So the leadership needs to hear. And honestly, nobody has the commander's ear better than his spouse or her spouse. So again, I'm not here to be a marriage counselor, but I am here. I was there to hear the information, and I can promise you I took it home lots of nights and talked to my husband, and there were changes made where we were, because of information I heard from getting out and getting in the trenches, and from people like Brittany who were willing to come up and talk to me. It's in your approach. You don't want to be the squeaky wheel, but if you know there's a weakness, if you know there's a low point or an area that needs help, use your resources. It's no different than if you had a kid in a school who wasn't getting the help you need. You would go first to the teacher, then to the counselor, then to the principal, and you would get your child that help. If you need that help, be willing to stand up for yourself and go through those same avenues that you can find in that way. all bases will have some sort of, I'm Air Force, I'm a brat, and Air Force brat who then married into it, and I've been here for 23 years, so my acronyms and my knowledge is all Air Force. But you know, all bases will have some sort of airmen and family readiness programs. They'll all have key spouse programs or ombudsman's programs. Well, there are ways to get plugged in. Some bases will have better support than others, but get in there. And if you see an area that needs help and you can help, be willing to step out.
And I want to piggyback on you, Molly, because you touched on something you said in the approach. And one of the things that I want for new military spouses specifically, and some of our marinated spouses to understand, is that it's in the approach. Our leadership hear complaints a lot, but if you can come to them and say, I have a concern, and this is the concern, and here's a suggestion to a solution, it doesn't mean your solution's the right one. It's just coming and saying, I've actually put some thought into this. I'm not just coming to, you know, complain to you as a command spouse. Like, this is a genuine concern I have, and here's a potential solution to it. And if there's a conversation, you know, about it, I'm available. Feel free to, you know, contact me. So delivery is a big thing for all of our military spouses, in how we kind of approach leadership or whatever, big Air Force or big military with something. It's all in our like delivery to them.
Yeah, great points. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I saw a lot on here about National Guard. I do not have enough knowledge about National Guard, and this is something that I'm going to really try to research for you guys and figure out a way to get it out. I'm even on my Facebook page, on the Discovering Your Spark page, I'm going to find some National Guard stuff, because this is something that I come across almost every travel experience that I have. And National Guard spouses have even another step of challenge above us, because they're typically in areas where, you know, they might not have the base resource, or the base that they're associated with does not provide all the services and resources that an active base provides. So this is something I will research for you guys, I promise. Okay, are there any other questions?
We also have National Guard mentors too. So those of you who are new spouses who are interested, we do have National Guard in that side of our mentorship program. That branch is growing very quickly, because we're seeing a lot of people who feel that same way, who are really not sure where to turn or where to go to, and maybe they're not even brand new spouses, right? They've been around for a while and they're like, I still don't know, because we are out here and this base is way over here and I don't know anything about this. And so we do have resources for those people as well within MSAN, and that program is growing also. But I did want to really quickly, those of you, if you have more questions, feel free to type them out or pop on and ask. However, I did want to introduce really quickly, Berenice Castillo is actually on here, our president of MSAN, and I just wanted to introduce her and give her a chance to say hello and anything she wanted to talk about as well.
Yeah, thank you, Whitney. Thank you, everybody, and especially to Brittany. I think that now you know the reason why we wanted to have this webinar, because it was good for everybody. I think that Whitney and Sarah, Natalie, and myself, we were messaging with some questions, and we were saying, oh my God, it's like Sarah was saying, it's like, she's talking to me. Yeah, she's talking to me too. And it was you were hitting everybody. So there were moments of laughing, moments that we wanted to cry, moments of reflection. It was everything at once. And we knew it was going to be this. Exactly that we were experiencing it right now. And we were so excited to do it, because we knew it was going to be amazing. We were going to learn from it, new and non-new spouses. So I'm very excited that we were able to do this. Like Brittany mentioned earlier, through our new spouse program, the new spouses that will be receiving mentorship, they're going to start getting the downloadable version of the workbook, which is an amazing collaboration that we're doing with the amazing Brittany. It is one of those opportunities that we see as, oh my God, it's not only a great thing for the new spouses, but being able to actually give them something on top of the mentorship is like we are supporting those two things back to back. So we feel like it's even making that foundation stronger. So you're gonna get to see more. There's a lot more coming the end of September, some amazing a lot of amazing things. I can tell you that it's going to be something virtual and something that is going to provide new spouses an opportunity of like an internship program. But like I said, everybody will get to hear about it at the end of September. They will be launched. Brittany is going to be a big part of this new project, and Discover Your Spark is going to be part of it. So we're really, really excited. I just wanted to jump in pretty fast and say thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. I think that this is going to be a recorded webinar, so please help us to spread the recorded version to all of the spouses, because not only the new ones, but us marinated spouses like Brittany was talking about, not so much seasoned spouses, but all of us are able to learn so much. And even many of us that we are on our way out, we need to reflect. Who are we? What do we want to do? Am I actually in the right track? So I think that tonight Brittany was speaking to all of us at different levels in our career or our spouse's career, but bottom line, it was talking to all of us. So help us spread the word and share the webinar once it's available, the recorded version. And I'm still all excited. It's like, oh my God, this was so cool. So I just wanted to jump in and say thank you to our amazing team, Whitney, Sarah, Natalie, all of our mentors, the branch mentors that join us tonight. You guys are doing amazing. The fact that at the moment we are mentoring 300 spouses as of today, it is amazing the amount of spouses that we are growing on a daily basis. And that this program was launched not too long ago. And to know that we have 300 spouses right now that we need to take care of, it is a great number. We have a great number of mentors. The branch mentors are doing amazing too. So we just have a great team. And this is just growing. And it's just gonna go to a lot of places, and it's because of the volunteers. And today is because of Brittany. We needed someone to keep us empowered and someone to keep us going, and at the same time remind us that we also need to know where we're going in order to bring others on board. So Brittany, thank you so much. It was just amazing. It's always amazing to hear you give a briefing or share with us things or make us reflect in a lot of things that we forgot about and that we are no longer considering part of our lives because we're like, I'm not young anymore. Well, that happened 20 years ago, but no, why are we forgetting those things? So it was great to hear that again and to say, I do need to consider that. So thank you so much. And team, thank you very much. And I think that's all I wanted to say tonight. I really enjoyed it. And I hope that we can have more of this, and I think that Brittany will be helping us with a lot of more, and we'll have a part 2 maybe and a part 3 and 4. We'll see what is coming in September, but I can guarantee you that you're gonna see a lot of Brittany and discovering a lot more about yourselves. So thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you so much for those amazing words and just information, about what's coming and everything. So before I turn it back over to Brittany to kind of wrap it up for us, I wanted to go ahead and do the drawing for our 2 gift cards sponsored by Armed Forces Insurance. And so I have like a little wheel I've entered all the names into, and I'm just gonna hit go and it will select a name, and I'll read it out and then I'll do it again and it'll select another name. So our first winner is Kara. Kara, but it doesn't say last name. So Kara, yay!
You should see her face right now. She is so shocked.
So Kara, what I'll have you do, I will type in my email right here, warmstrong@milspouseadvocacynetwork.org. What I want you to do is email me your information so that it doesn't go on here, and I will be able to get with you about the type of gift card and where to send it. So congratulations to you, Kara. All right, winner number 2, drum roll. Jessie. Jessie, hey. Mail fast, Jessie.
Hey, Jessie.
Oh, I see a little face on the comment. All right, so thanks to Armed Forces Insurance as being one of our sponsors. And this evening, they were able to give us, 2 $25 gift cards to give to our participants tonight. So thank you all for joining. Thank you. Congrats to you guys who won. Again, I'll type my email in the chat here. But before we go, I wanted to turn it back over to Brittany one last time for any final thoughts or comments. And just thank you all again for joining us tonight and being a part of this with MSAN.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you for getting on tonight and for giving me the opportunity to just get on and talk to you guys and share information for you. At the end of the day, I'm a military spouse who really just found out what I wanted to do and what I was passionate about, and I'm making it happen, sharing it with everybody, and I'm making it happen answering text messages from my husband in the middle of it, from working from home, from doing this from the hospital when my son's sick. I mean, I've really figured out that all of those things are barriers that are trying to like get me down and make me think that I can't. And every day I just get up with the attitude that I can, and it might not be to the caliber that I want it to be, but I'm at least doing it. And that's really important. And all of you new military spouses, you have so much at your fingertips. And there are so many military spouses out there who are willing to listen, help, guide, and just be there for you. We are a community that is like none other. And when you get to the 19-year mark like us, or, you know, in the 20-something year mark, you start to realize everything that you have and a lot of the things you've complained about over the years, and it's going to be something you're going to miss. And so I hope to stay really active in the community even after retirement. This is just where I feel called to be. Seriously, I want you guys, get the workbook, do it if you can at home, like 5 minutes. Watch on our website. We're going to have some live workshops available for people to attend. But once again, we are working on something digitally. So don't fret. There's going to be opportunities for you to see the workshop and get some guidance on how to utilize the book. So thank you again so much. Thank you for supporting me, for standing behind me, because I really couldn't do it without all of the military spouses who rally behind me and really help me and give me the encouragement every day. So thank you very much. And I hope to see all of you and hear from you guys soon. And feel free to reach out to me at any time.